Okay. Uh, welcome. Let me see something here. Okay, let me do something real quick. Let's see something here. They do that? Okay, so I'm only doing this because I got a couple of Pop Tarts here. Yes, I like Pop Tarts, and I'm not I'm not dieting, so anywho. Oh yeah, that's right. Yesterday, in the second half, I was working on the adding camera. In fact, let me take a quick look at that real quick before I actually start the actual story stuff. So give me a sec. Um, would be this one from current scene. Okay, zoom in doesn't work. This does work, but it's for some reason it wants to it wants to jerk, and I'm not really sure why. It's possible that the processing in the layout tool, the process function, it might be doing something. I don't think it is, but it might be doing something that's causing this the conflict with the script here, the camera script. But I'll get that working soon, sometime today, maybe. Okay. Okay, I'll switch to desktop proper. And let's see, what were we working on? What was I working on? Maybe this one. Oh yeah, the trophy room. Display case. And I think, was I using Grok or was I using a new GPT conversation? Don't remember. Let's check it out. Pardon me. Um, maybe I don't know. Maybe I'll leave my face off for a while until I'm completely done with the Pop Tarts, and I'll try not to talk with my mouth full. Uh, and let's see. We'll go to Grok first. No, this is about the right. Okay, this is actually about the layout tool. This is the camera stuff. Okay, so fine. Let's open up Chat GPT. Let's see if I was doing that. Probably this. Let's see. No, he would get a picture of a device. So let's say he senses something is wrong and that whatever it was used magic somehow, but that it didn't trip the words. So maybe he needs to whip out a few spells. So apparently, I haven't really come up with, or at least I didn't write down like I should have been doing. Maybe. I was trying to come up with actual spells that I could use. So, um, maybe I'll ask the AI if it can, based on past fantasy stories, novels, books, whatever, how other stories actually handle that. How do other stories, novels, movies, narratives uh, handle things like um, detecting what magic or whatever was used to do something. Curious at a few approaches, although I could just make something up out of thin air. I.e., magical detection spell, something. But was curious how other stories handle it. Okay. Okay. So, detect magic spells, straightforward utility. I mean, I could do that. I just um it's I guess it's a little too pat. I don't know if that's okay because this is comedy and it doesn't really matter if things are like a really on the nose or whatever, or uh or if you wanted to actually what would be a good idea is to compare like current actual forensic science and then somehow try to transmute that into some fantasy magical kind of concept so that something like that. I mean, obviously, DNA, you can do a DNA check and stuff like that now, but maybe not. CSI, but magic. That's what it says here. Residual magical traces. Wheel of Time. Chandler's often sometimes sense residues of the one power, but only for a while after it's used. Some leave stronger or longer lasting traces. The Dresden Files. Wizards can sense resonance left behind by spells, sort of like magical fingerprints. Different casters leave different flavors. Um, Pissborn, Brian Sanderson. Metals leave traces. Magic has a physical, metaphysical footprint. Prose creates detective style story beats. Something powerful is here. Adds time pressure. Needs consistent cons. Needs consistency. Or readers may call foul. Um, it is kind of what I'm doing right now. Right now, we're doing a little bit of detective work as to what's going on with the lands, and so that's part of it. Magical perception, sixth sense. Lord of the Rings, Gandalf can feel evil or sorcery, but it's vague. Elves too have heightened awareness of enchantments. Earthsea, wizards know the true names of things, their perceptions about language and essence, which lets them recognize the natural forces. Um, Star Wars Force as magic is, and not really the Force is like magic, really. I have a theory, which I might have even said here, pardon me, about how the original Star Wars was essentially just Lord of the Rings rewritten as a space opera, and I can actually give you like direct correlations here between things in the original Star Wars, renamed A New Hope, whatever, Episode 4. Back then it was just Star Wars, but because there's lots of things, and I get that some of it is like Hero's Journey stuff, and what's his name's um the thing about the myth thing or whatever, I forget, where they usually need like a mentor, and in fact in a screenplay, or even like a manuscript, like a draft of a novel, you usually have the sort of mentor character. So, but I would say that Obi-Wan Kenobi is actually Gandalf, and there's a whole bunch of things I could do. You can turn the Death Star up on its back, where the dish is pointing up, and then it kind of looks like a sort of like a volcano, you know. Um, and the Death Star plans are sort of like the ring, even though the Death Star plans are just more straight up MacGuffin. But it's still the same thing. It's still taking direct elements directly out of like Lord of the Rings, and then like kind of changing just a little bit to make it work a little bit different. Anyways, that's not really important here, but Jedi sense disturbances in the Force, more intuition than scanning. Prose, atmospheric, and mystical, can be very flexible. Cons, vague. Readers may feel the author's hand waving. Tools, artifacts, or special mediums. Discworld. Wizards sometimes use magical devices like octograms, thermometers, or sheer bureaucracy to detect magic. Um, I've not ever actually read any of the Discworld novels. I've watched a few of the movies that they made based off of them, but I haven't actually read the books. I might like them, maybe. I have to be kind of careful as a Christian because not that it's gonna hurt me personally, but um I don't tend to care about um reading stuff that's anti-God, or that tries to put Christianity and basically religion in a fantasy context. And I mean actual taking actual religions and treating them as though they were fantasy. Uh, even on the religions that I think are wrong, and um, that I would avoid and stuff. I don't think you should. I kind of don't think you should like put that in like a fantasy setting. But that's just me or whatever. Probably not any of you. Started with 5, and now we're back down to 3. That's interesting. Anyways, maybe those ones that come in at first and then build up the viewers. Maybe they're expecting to see me work on code, which is not until part 2. Hmm. Shadowhunters, Cassandra Clare, runes, Stella, or magical compasses point out traces. Fantasy video games, magic crystals, rune stones, or enchanted spectacles let characters see the unseen. Hmm. Okay, all done. I'm trying not to eat into the microphone. I do have that filter that filters out like extraneous noise, and it does a pretty good job. So you might not be able to hear me eating either, which is good. I mean, other than when I start talking or whatever. So apologies for that. I'll try not to do that much in the future. But I just realized what time it was, and I got here on time, even though it's now 11:26, 15 minutes in. Okay, there I am again. Okay, pros, adds fun gadgets, lets non-wizards participate, risk gadget of the week syndrome, trial and error, rituals, experiments, Full Metal Alchemist, alchemist tests what's been done by reconstructing the array or checking your residues of materials. Some dark fantasy stories, detecting magic might require blood, rituals, or communicating with spirits. Okay. Pros, more tactile, can add drama. It costs something to find out. Cons, slower, less convenient if you need quick pacing. Well, obviously, I'm not going to be doing that in my a lighthearted fantasy comedy story here. So the spectrum is hard and precise, soft and intuitive. The airstick of sorcery. You cast detect magical eyes, flavorful gadgets. You could easily mix these for Hebert since he's both competent and a bit wobbly from half his magic. Maybe it's detection somewhere between, but play with 5. That way it's not a guaranteed ping. It's him sniffing the magical error, maybe getting it half right. Um, hmm. So in forensic science, uh, there's usually some evidence of something that happened that you have to test. For instance, DNA or things like mud off of someone's shoes, or maybe a stain where someone's coffee mug sat, or a cigarette butt, or something of this nature. Correct? Forensic science relies on trace evidence. If there's an event, acting hair fibers, fingerprints, footprint, residues, broken objects, things like Sherlock Holmes could whip out magnifying glass for. Stories often mirror this idea, but swap in arcane equivalents instead of cigarette ash. You might have residual energy traces, leaves behind glimmer in the air, fading magical radiation, elemental signatures, uh, symbolic leftovers, ruins, chalk dust, candle wax, crushed herbs, feathers. Even if the ritual circle is erased, you might find smudges. Art echoes like fingerprints. Every image has a unique signature or resonance in their spells. Environmental anomalies. Shadows behaving oddly. Objects slightly out of phase. The smell of ozone. Some stories go full CSI arcane by having mage forensics experts who analyze the residents systematically, like the Dresden Files. There's actually a show about called the Dresden Files, I think, based on the books. Might want to take a look at that at some point. Always keep it fuzzy and mystical. The character just knows because they're attuned. So Hebert can sense something, some sort of magic was used, but doesn't really know what specifically or to what extent. However, to find out stuff, he's going to probably use some magic, but then again, his partial magic sort of hampers his results. So if you're going to say, for instance, there's a spell that lets him view things from the past, say 30 minutes or whatever. And that's the thing. It's gonna be fairly recent for that to work. Maybe a few days. Few days. Um, then what part manifests itself when his magic isn't working fully? Do you let him hear the sounds, but no, but without an image? Or does it even have audio? In which case, how does he experience the visuals? So I have to come up with something plausible. That probably requires a combination of spells. Although, I think in the full version of the game will probably collapse. That's not true either. So that won't collapse. What it'll be is each of the spells will be part of a puzzle. So you'd have to get a few things that, or you'd have to come up with the correct spells that would give him the results he wants. And for that, you have to actually hint. And that's another thing I didn't think about. And I don't strictly need to do it here, but if I want to turn it into a puzzle later, then I'm going to have to come up with something that can lead to me making the puzzle later, or something that turns out to be a puzzle now, but you don't play it as a puzzle in this version. So I'd have to think of that. But he does spells, and he has what's called hat magic. So basically, he's got to wear at least 3 funny hats in a specific configuration. He's got tons of hats at his home, and so in order to do certain spells, you need the hats. And I'm not sure how I'm going to work that because going back to his house every time it would be a pain in the butt. So you're gonna need some sort of magical way of getting to the hats, and that can be even a puzzle or a challenge within itself because he can't use a spell outright. He's got to use some sort of magical item that was maybe it was enchanted before or something, you know, like a magic portal. Like you remember in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which I don't know if they've actually did this in actual cartoons before, but you know the the hole, the Acme hole or whatever, where you could like put a hole somewhere and then they could like fall through it or go through it or whatever. Something like that. Maybe he's got maybe it's not portal. Oh, but you know what? Maybe I could tie something in here. I just thought of something. I might go ahead and just hit enter here and let ChatGPT tell me, give me some ideas. But something I just thought of. Since this is portal magic, and what this is Max made a device, sort of a proof of concept for the actual the working device that will power the Omnigate, or that will be part of the Omnigate, that allows them to open vast, huge portals, and be able to do open several at once, so he can march into any realm he chooses all at the same time. So that's portal magic. So um, that's a thought. It's something. Okay, so here's the setup, right? So if we presume that he opens a portal to his hat room, or even just to his house in general, so that he can go get any different number of hats. In fact, with hat magic, you're gonna learn the spells. You're gonna learn what spells to choose. It's gonna be the end thing though, not in here. But you're gonna need to access the hat room very often. So he'll have something that allows him to do that, and it's some sort of portal magic itself. So now, of course, he doesn't do it himself. Um, well, actually, okay. So here's the deal, right? You need a piece of quicksilver, and you need to say the right words, and you need to have the right intent. Like you want a portal to open, and that's really what the words on the ticket do. Is it directs it essentially directs your thought or your action there, so that it opens correctly. That's something that he doesn't need his magic to do, and so he can have a he can actually do that because it's not part of his actual magic. It's portal magic. It's its own thing, right? It's based on the quicksilver. It's based on the specific words you say, and anybody can do it. So it's not just a base. It's not just for wizards, right? And it's just for opening portals, anyways. So that can tie back to the fact that this was not something like that. This is its own thing that is able to open a portal, and it's an actual device, it's a mechanical device that's powered by quicksilver. So, um, so when he detects something, maybe he'll get the idea that this will actually not be a bad. Okay, so I'm just explaining with ideas right now, but um, I do have a point where so you know what portals are at this point in the game when you're playing. You know what portals are, and you know that you need the quicksilver, you need to say the words, and all that. So what was I saying? You have to pardon me because my now we're down to two people. Okay, two people. Thanks for sticking around. Anyways, okay. So here's the deal, right? So so one way you can tell if it's related to portals is and this okay. So this actually will help teach the player as well. Okay. So the first use of actually using hats, you use them back at his house, and then this actually seems like it's the first place where he's actually using hat magic because to get into Wizard U, he needed the mouse to help him out, so he wasn't actually doing it. So this is the first time here in the story that he's actually using the hat magic outside of his house. Okay, and so maybe he needs some hats, and so he needs a way to get into the hats, and so with that, he's able to open the portal and jump through, and um, that's an interesting thought too. That means that if he's able to jump to different places automatically, if, the way he wants. In fact, shoot, maybe a I don't know if we'll let all the characters do that or not, but it's a good way to allow you to jump between places without actually having to do a full walk to it. Okay, so he knows about portals. He knows about magic. He knows that there's magic here. He knows that it wasn't tampered with. He doesn't know about if the magical wards whether they've been tripped or not. He might need a spell to see if they're tripped, maybe, or maybe I don't know. Maybe he's supposed to um, be able to sense that they weren't tripped or something. I don't know. But or maybe he just needs a spell. He needs a spell to reveal that. Actually, that would be a good spell to put in there though. It's a good spell that you need to try, and that is uh, word reveal or whatever. Okay. Anyways, what I was thinking is like he's going, okay, he's piecing together that it's a portal. We don't know that. He just looks at the case. He knows it's some sort of magic, and so then he decides he needs some hats because he needs to cast a few spells, and then he has to open a portal to his hat room, and he does that, and maybe then you have like a line of text or you have a line of dialogue where he says, "Oh, magic portals. Why didn't I think of that? It's got to be some sort of magic portal. It's got to be some sort of portal magic, right?" And then maybe he'll detect something like that's for detecting portal magic. It's a separate portal magic is its own magic, right? So let's just say he needs to be able to reveal it. And the other thing he needs to do is he needs to check the wards to see if they've been tripped. Maybe the word detection thing. Um, maybe it's not maybe it's not something that he could see without using a spell to reveal it. So it's not like a traffic light or something that goes on and that anybody can see. So it should be only him that sees whatever this is. And so to do that, he needs a spell that uncovers the wards so that he can see whether they've been tripped or not. And then he finds out they weren't tripped, and then he has to figure out, what else? What could do this kind of thing? Anyways, let's just go ahead and enter see what ChatGPT says. So Hubert can said some sort of magic is used, but doesn't really know what specifically or to what extent. However, to find out stuff, he's probably going to use some magic. But then again, his partial magic sort of hampers his results. So if you're going to say, for instance, there's a spell that lets him view things from the past 30 minutes or whatever, a few days, then what part manifests itself when his magic isn't working fully? Do you let him hear the sounds but without an image, or does it have audio? In which case, or does it even have audio? In which case, how does he experience the visuals? So I have to come up with something plausible that probably requires a combination of spells. Okay, I'll just let it give. It'll probably give me direct advice to based on what I said, but exactly, you're hitting the sweet spot between fantasy coolness and internal logic. Hubert is basically doing magical forensics. The key question is, what trace does magic leave behind that he can interpret, and how does his half-busted magic work the results? Here are a few ways other stories in your world might handle it, with broken magic twists baked in. Residual auras, the sands of magic. Normal version magic leaves behind the colored light, a shimmering haze, or a static like hum. A full mage can tune in to these impressions like turning a dial on a radio. Here's busted version. He only sees fate after images like smeared fingerprints on glass. Maybe he senses an aura, but the color is off. Blue looks red, gold looks brown, so he constantly misinterprets. Or his magic only gives him the emotional residue. Whoever cast this was angry. Someone was desperate, but not the technical detail. Echo spells, time snapshots. Normal version, wizards cast a spell that replays a ghostly reenactment of events like a magical security camera. Here's busted version. Visuals are glitchy, silhouettes only, or blurred outlines without moving without detail. Or he only gets the audio but no picture. Voices echo in the empty room. Or maybe he sees random snippets out of order, like a broken film reel spliced together. Elemental imprints. Normal version. Magic leaves a signature in the environment. Burn marks, frost, warped wood, lingering scents. Here's busted version. Detects the wrong element. This looks like fire magic. Oh, no, wait, that was just candle smoke. Or a spell's oversensitive. He detects every time a magical trace being overwhelmed in like being overwhelmed in a perfume store. He literally sneezes with the magical residue when the magical residue is strong. Actually, that's not a bad idea. The he's kind of allergic to magical residue, and that could actually be a funny quirk. He's a wizard that's kind of allergic to magic in a way. Uh, that might not be a bad deal to add in there. Um, maybe I'll do that as a note. Um, maybe I'll do that as a note here. Okay, because I like that idea actually. That's adds to the comedy here. Um, something ChatGPT came up with about Hubert sneezing when magical auras are a bit too strong, which I think is a funny idea. Maybe he's allergic to certain types of magic, like auras or whatever. Or whatever. Okay. Save that. Alright. Runic Backscatter. Normal version. Spells leave faint runic impressions like chalk outlines that experienced mage can read. Hyper special version. He only catches half of a rune. He has to guess what the missing piece meant. Or the runes keep shifting like letters seen underwater, forcing him to squint and gumble. Dreamlike visions. Normal version. With concentration, a wizard can enter the residue and witness the past in the first person, like standing in the memory itself. Hyper special version. He slips in and out, sometimes seeing his own reflection in the memory. Creepy. He experiences it like a half-forgotten dream, vague impression, not clear facts. Maybe he accidentally injects his own memories into the vision, making it unreliable. Wait, why is there a plate of scones on the table? Oh, that was breakfast, darn it. I wish I could think of some of this funny stuff myself. It's actually pretty good at coming up with the kind of goofy, funny stuff that I could put in. So the plausible combo you mentioned could work like this. He senses a magical residue, fuzzy aura, emotional echo. He tries to sharpen it with an echo spell that could replay the scene. Because magic is busted, he only gets blurred shapes and muffled voices, forcing him to piece together the meaning with good old brain power and guesswork. That way, it's forensic. There's a trace to investigate. Magical needs to spell to decode, and funny character-driven. His half-working magic is as unreliable as broken tape recorder. No thanks, but this is giving me ideas. Okay. No, you don't need to. You don't need to do that. No thanks. I need to think for a moment. Um, Dreamlike visions, elemental imprints, echo spells, time snapshots, residual auras. You know, I could do a spell that here's an interesting thought for a puzzle later on, and that is he casts a spell that allows him to replay the events in the room, sort of like a hologram, sort of like a recorded like the security cam footage thing, where you see all the actions and everything that happens, and so um, what the crucial piece that he needs of information he needs blips out, so it like looks like it's cut. If you ever watch an old 1930s movie, and you see some of them where it looks like it's cut up to pieces, it jumps to another scene, whole lines of dialogue is cut out, stuff like that. It's usually because some of these reels were would travel around to theater from theater to theater, and play a certain amount of time, and eventually they would wear out because they're physical media. So, and it's film running on a sprocket system. It's actually kind of violent if you think about it. It pulls on the film and stuff, and eventually the film will snap. So so what happens is film snap. What do? You splice it together. How do you splice it together? Well, usually what you do is you take some tape. In this case, it's probably some clear tape. Maybe I don't know how far back clear tape goes. I mean, it should go back a ways. That makes me wonder how far does clear tape like sort of like how far back does clear tape, like Scotch tape, but not, but the brand itself, just the type of tape, go in terms of time? I guess we'll let Leo. Here we'll do this. Clear adhesive tape dates back to the early 1930s. 3M engineer named Richard Drew developed the first transparent adhesive tape known as Scotch brand cellulose tape. The initial version was a significant advancement, though it faced challenges as the adhesive was only applied to the edges, making it difficult to handle. Drew's work led to the creation of the first fully transparent adhesive tape in 1932, which featured a clear cellophane backing coated with adhesive uniformly across the entire surface. Okay, so it literally was Scotch that invented, it was 3M that invented Scotch, the transparent adhesive tape. Um, how would um, films be spliced um, in the days before clear adhesive tape? Because maybe they never use adhesive tape. I know that I've seen that before. I know you can do that even with audio tape. You tape it together. That's what they do. Film splicing was accomplished using cement splicing, also known as film cementing, or tape splicing with opaque tape, depending on the era and film type. This is a standard method for splicing motion picture film, specifically 35 millimeter and 60 millimeter, used in professional and amateur filmmaking. A small section of the film ends was overlapped or butted together and joined using a solvent-based cement that slightly dissolved the film base, typically cellulose nitrate or acetate, fusing the pieces together. Overlapping splice. One film end was overlapped slightly with the other end and cemented, but spliced. The film ends were precisely aligned and joined with a special adhesive or cement. Editors use a splicing block to align the film frames accurately before applying the cement. It created a strong, durable, and nearly invisible splice that could pass smoothly through projectors and cameras. That's cool. A tape slicing, less common. For a clear tape, opaque adhesive tape, such as paper or fabric tape, were sometimes used, especially in non-critical or temporary edits. They were not transparent, so they couldn't be used on image-bearing sections of film without blocking the picture. Typically used for splicing leader non-image sections or for holding film reels together temporarily. Not suitable for final editing due to visibility and durability issues. Pre-1930s, cement splicing was the dominant method. 1930s onward, the invention of clear adhesive tape. Clear tape splicing became popular, especially for 16mm and 8mm amateur film. Tape splicers designed for clear tape emerged, allowing quick, clean edits without chemicals. Okay, there you have it. Okay, so the reason I was talking about that is, oh, we got 4 people now again. So the reason I'm saying that is, if you watch in 1930s movies, and primarily we do westerns, but pretty much any early 1930s movie, even a little bit, maybe I don't know if it would go into the 40s, because by that time, it's new enough that different kinds of film were used. But basically, these films would go, especially matinee ones, B movies, basically. They would actually go from theater to theater, and so eventually the tape would wear out. It would break, and they would have to resplice it. Now, several resplices ends up where you have like missing lines of dialogue. It skips whole sections of film. Not real bad, but bad enough that if there's enough of them, it makes watching the movie kind of hard. If it's occasionally, sometimes you can still watch the movie, and usually the little bits of dialogue wasn't that important. Like, you're not gonna miss like a big thing. So I was thinking maybe in this magic deal, where he is watching playback, essentially. He's watching this kind of magical image appear that shows him what happened, but maybe it jumps, right? It jumps in time, and so right at the critical point. So like he sees a figure in a cloak. He's holding something, can't tell what it is. Then he goes over. He approaches the case, and then it jumps, and uh, now the scepter is gone from the case, and this figure, goes back into the shadows, and he didn't even see what happened, right? So you still need a way for him to be able to tell what happened. So maybe he has to do the same spell over and over again, several times, till he gets enough information that he can tell what happened. And even then, it's going to be kind of hard because the way he's like wearing a cloak, and but maybe he'll clearly be able to see what happened, not who it was or anything. So I'm thinking maybe something like that. Possibly. Okay. So yeah, so what do you call that? Echo spells? Yeah. Um I'm leaning a little bit at least partially on an echo type spell. But like old 1930s movies that moved around a lot were broken and respliced to the point where um, pieces of dialogue or whole scenes were gone. Hubert's spell only allows him to see before and after, where the critical information isn't there because the spell misfired. But that still leaves the question as to how he's going to figure it out. Does he do the same echo spell a few times? Does he use something else? Old broken film reel echo idea. Lets you visually and narratively lean into the unreliability of his powers without hand waving it. There are a few ways you could play it. Echo layering. Cast the same echo spell multiple times, each time catching a slightly different splice of the memory. One attempt shows shadows moving but no sound, the other gives a sound but no visuals. A third skips forward too far. By patching these fragments together, Hubert has to reconstruct the event like a detective editing a damaged reel. That way the player / reader gets involved too. They piece together the bigger picture, but it still feels glitchy and frustrating for Hubert. Switching forensic spells. You know what? I might do. If I do the layering thing, I might do three deals. You know how I'm basically doing. I give you three choices, and if I do it a certain way, you're able to experience all three choices, but in your own order. So like you don't have to do a prescribed order. You do it. You pick the one, and then you get a choice of the other two, and then you pick the last one, and it changes depending on which ones you choose. Even though you're still going through all of the layers, so to speak. So maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll make it to where that and then he can get sort of an idea here. And even then, I need to make sure that he doesn't get everything. I don't know if you ever heard of Superman syndrome before, and that is where they give a character in, say, a movie or a novel like Superman powers, like ultimate ultimate powers to do anything and everything. Uh, that guy doesn't grow as a character and stuff. He doesn't have to work for anything. He doesn't have to work around anything and be creative. He can just do anything and everything, which means why is he even going through anything at all? You know, if he could use a spell that tells him exactly what happened and who did it and everything, and it didn't mess up and stuff, then he'd instantly know, and there would be no game to play or no story to go through. Um, so giving him all that power is not that good story wise. So you have to have at least give him a little something to work for. Um, and so in this way, you would still be doing that. You still be getting the same result. You still be getting the same information, but you'd be able to do it your own way. And then, like I said, and then he still wouldn't necessarily see who it was. He says, could a cloak person? He sees holding something. He'd see him approaching. He'd see something opening up and him grabbing the scepter right out of it, and then it closing, and then him leaving. And he didn't really even know what's going on, other than he knows the portal's opened. He knows they got the scepter out through the portal, but he also doesn't know what this device is, and because it's not doesn't seem like the typical way a portal opens. In fact, the portal might even look different than a regular portal. Usually, the way I always visualize a portal is that the opening kind of opens like a camera aperture, where it kind of goes like that, and it kind of opens, but where it's like swirling, like I don't know, like light or something, where it kind of just kind of goes, and kind of opens up. Maybe this doesn't give that kind of an image. He knows it's a portal, but it's not a normal kind of portal. So he knows it's not normal portal magic, and that whatever the guy was holding must have had something to do with opening the portal. So he knows maybe it's a device of some sort. He doesn't know what kind of device or anything like that. He just knows that he's using something other than regular portal magic to do it. And that way um, we can also we don't actually have to tell the player or even Hubert that this device part of the was part of the Omnigate, or part of the Omnigate's mechanism. You can find that out later, um, somehow. Somehow maybe after they get a good look at the portal and what kind of things are on it. Maybe it's like Stargate, where they have the different chevrons on there with the symbols. Maybe it's something similar to that. Um, that makes it this like device, and so anyways, he won't be able to tell what it is, but he will be able to tell it's some sort of artificial device. It's not normal portal magic, anyways. Okay, multiple times, piecing together. Okay, switching forensic spells. He realized the echo spell alone won't cut it, so he layers in others. A rhythmic spell to hear magical vibrations left behind like lingering hums. A scent of sorcery charm to sniff out what type of magic was used, like a magical DNA. A shadow playback incantation, which shows silhouettes instead of full detail. Together they overlap like different forensic tests. One spell can't solve it, but the combo nudges him closer to the truth. I could do it that way too. I could do the layering, or I could do the other ways. I'm not really sure which one to do exactly. They're going to amount to the same thing. If I do the switching of spells, then it's gonna be the kind of the same way. Like you said, like ChatGPT said, it might show shadow, it might show their silhouettes in shadow. Um, you might be one which will allow you to replay audio. Different things like that. Um, and maybe the reason that you have all these different spells is because maybe it's been too long, and so you can only pick up audio, and you pick up better audio if you just use the audio only spell, or the thing with the silhouette. Maybe you can only pick up that because maybe it's too far away. like it's been too long, right? I have to think of that kind of thing. Um, the magical blind spot as a clue. In fact, the middle part is missing could be itself be the clue. Like in real forensics, the absence of evidence is evidence. You might realize only a certain kind of device or spell could block out the middle. So even though you can't see the act itself, he deduces what kind of tools used by the way the echo broke. That makes it the failure meaningful. Comic relief option. Hubert tries getting in, the echo keeps splicing into the wrong moments. One time it shows janitor sweeping, another is the someone spilling soup. Eventually he groans. Great, invented the world's first magical blooper reel. I like that. I like some of the stuff Chat GPT has come up with. It's pretty original, pretty funny stuff. Um, but hidden one of those useless seeming clips is the tiniest detail, like a reflection in a window or someone muttering under their breath that cracks the case. I heard of blooper reel comedy. I like your blooper reel idea, but um, again, I don't want to rely on the AI too much. And yeah, it's supposed to be lighthearted, so I should start thinking of some of these goofy comedy kind of things. Totally fair. You don't want Hubert's whole investigation until like AI said it, so that's the mechanic. You want to spark ideas and sculpt them into something that feels authentically yours, like the blooper reel echo concept. You could treat it as one of Hubert's tools, not the entire process. Cross-check with physical evidence. Since the spell is imperfect, Hubert has to pair what he thinks he saw with actual evidence in the environment. Um, Maybe a scorch mark, misplaced object, or even the magical residue that feels slightly off. Iterative attempts, you might try to spell again from a different angle, literally standing in a different place in the room, which gives different missing gaps. Such to create tension, the truth is there, but scattered across attempts. Other spells or tools. Maybe Hubert has a sound echo spell and a scent echo spell, but neither gives full picture. Only when combined with logical deduction does the story click. That way, the misfiring spell creates humor and flavor, but Huber's actual detective work, piecing together echoes with clues, what solves the mystery. Um, I'm not sure. No. Maybe something accidental, or maybe a side effect um, of the actual spell is what does it. Let me think. You're doing a side effect. It's like he was saying, like he was now I'm calling him he, Chat GPT he. So I've finally crossed over now, my mind. Um so the side effect. It's a side effect that you can actually it's like looking at negative space or like Chat GPT said, it's evidence. The lack of evidence is the evidence itself, kind of thing. Um but what I was saying is a side effect would be, yeah, maybe he catches a reflection in something. That only happens when he is casting the spell. He can't see the thing directly, but he can see the reflection it made or something. Um, Feedback effect. Faint shimmer in the air like heat waves normally dissipates, but if it tries more than once in the same spot, the overlapping after image get tangled. Suddenly, instead of skipping past the missing part, the spell loops backward a few seconds too far. And in that overshoot, he catches the fleeting glimpse of the missing clue. Crossfade glitch. Instead of playing like a film reel, one of the echoes crossfades so he sees both the before and after overlapping at once. It's jumbled nonsense at first, but then he notices something small, like a hand reaching for something or an object disappearing that only makes sense when both layers are viewed together. Accidental projection. Hubert mutters in frustration, waves his hands wrong, and accidentally projects a broken echo onto reflective surfaces like glass or puddle or Princess carrying a shiny shoe buckle. The reflection bends the magic differently, showing a split-second fragment of the missing piece, like finding a scrap of missing film on the cutting room floor. Audio tech. The spell normally gives them silent images, but this time there's a faint sound like garbled voices or background noise. It doesn't play the missing dialogue, but maybe you hear something crucial in the dead air, like some name being muttered or villains dragging something across the floor. Sidekick trigger. Hubert's spell fizzles until someone else bumps into it. Maybe Princess Carrot Absolute. She's not going to be with them, so Absolute mindedly says something while standing in the shimmer, where Sir William's horn interacts with it. Their interference fills the gap just enough for the scene to reveal the missing clue. Instead of Hubert intentionally solving it, the missing piece sneaks through because of the magical glitch, an accident, or another character's presence. That way, it feels organic, not like he's just brute forced it. Um, I'm still coming around to it. I haven't got there yet. That's all. Let me keep thinking. Okay. Take your time. Sometimes the best idea sparks when you're not even looking straight at it. Okay. That's a big old spider on my ceiling. That looks like it's from here. Anyways, you might actually see the name Omnigate. Maybe you could bring in another character. Something I just thought of. Maybe what he sees is he actually sees the device. He doesn't really know what it is. Um, but maybe he sees like a name or something on the device, and maybe it's the inventor of the actual device, who was at one point wanting to find a way of opening opening a portal without using magic yourself. That is, it still requires Quicksilver because that's the thing that makes the magic work. But it's a device that does it instead of the the person's intention. Like I want to go into Enchanted Lands and I'm holding this piece of Quicksilver and I say these words, take me to blah 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 blah, blah and then it does it. And so whoever this scientist inventor was, maybe he wanted to invent something that didn't require you to have to do that. You'd still need the Quicksilver, but you wouldn't need any kind of special. The device would be doing the work mostly, or something. Hmm. This does not make for a very fast development cycle, does it? Um, I guess I should work backwards, shouldn't I? I should figure out what result I want, what I want him to know about it, and then work my way back from it. I think maybe I need to work from result back to method instead of the other way around. What information does Hubert need in regards to this? A, that it was a form of portal magic, not the usual. B, um, it's actually using a device instead of. I mean, uh, I guess there's not a real logic here, in the sense that the reason I'm kind of squinting my eyes sometimes is because I don't have my glasses on, and so things are slightly blurry, and so I'm looking at the how many viewers there are off of Restream, and there's only three, but sometimes it looks like eight, and sometimes it looks like zero, and I don't know what actual number I'm looking at until I can squint my eyes a little bit, just enough, or I can get close to it, or I have my glasses on, which I don't like to wear my glasses anymore, really. Hmm. Portal magic. In fact, each of the realms, maybe they have a signal, uh, uh, um, a what was it? The signal? Signal wasn't what I was looking for. Signature. So each realm has its own signature that you can hone in, right? And really, what this thing about intent does is when you say these words, it tunes the it tunes the Quicksilver, the magic, to the right frequency and allows you to travel to wherever you're going to travel with regards to that. So so in this case, it's something that actually maybe it detects, it scans the air, um, it detects the signal from the different realms, and maybe that's based on existing portals. So maybe a limitation of the device is that it can only go to places that have a signature, have the correct signature, and you only get that by actually going to whatever place it is. So those that have frequent places, they can open. So they can open to our realm already because they already have our signature. They can't do it to new realms. Anyways, where normal portal magic is based on intention and being in contact with Quicksilver, which allows a portal to open based on the words they say, which is why a silver ticket can bring you to the resort. When you hold it and say the words, you're teleported. But this is using something else that Hebert can't quite put his finger on. Um, but it doesn't need that intent. Instead, it just needs a signature, which is sort of like a frequency for each realm. So then um, as many people have gone in and out uh, of various realms, they know the signature. Let's see. You know the signature, but the device doesn't need a signature. It actually scans for various signatures and is able to use them. Okay. Now, so to get tired. Should have braked, I think. I might have to build the brakes back in, like 10 minutes in between each hour or something. Very good reversal, starting from the info he needs to learn and finding a way to naturally rebuild the story. Uh, See, it's now starting to go sluggish. Look at that. Is that because of how many people's on it? I don't know. Now we only have two people in the chat or in the watching the stream. That's kind of normal, I guess. That's the first anchor. He recognizes it smells, feels, behave like portal magic, but off. It's using a device, not intention-based Quicksilver magic. There's a twist. Normally, portals require intent. Contact with Quicksilver words like the silver ticket. The thing bypasses intent completely. Instead of intent, it relies on signature frequency unique to each realm. Each realm is its own metaphysical signal. the The villains or whoever built the device have figured out how to catalog and exploit these. The device can actively scan for new signatures, meaning it can break into realms that should be protected. Very dangerous since it doesn't rely on. What was that? Oh, okay. Then maybe that was an ad thing. Yeah, it can break it. It can break into realms that should be protected. Very dangerous since it doesn't rely on existing portals or tokens. Uh, Hit the free plan limit. See, whenever I put an image or document or anything in here, then it's a hard stop. And this will actually revert to a different model, maybe a cheaper model, maybe a not as good model, but it does that, and I can continue the conversation. If I add an image or anything here, it just doesn't. Grok does it differently. I'm able to upload certain amounts of images and whatever. When I hit my free limit, then uh, actually with Grok, Grok doesn't do the same thing. Grok does a cutoff, doesn't it? Yeah, it actually does a cutoff. So um, when I run out, it's a complete cutoff. In here, it's only cutoff if you're using like images or something. Possible motives to discover this accidental residue. Notices leftover quicksilver dust that should have reacted to intent, but didn't. It tips him off that it wasn't normal. Special spell side effect. He tries a diagnostic spell meant to reveal where the portal went. Instead, it reveals frequency signature input. He recognizes the difference. Device clue. Maybe some strange hum or crystal shard or scorch mark is left behind. A physical evidence that screams machine, not pure magic. Hubert's own limitation because he laughs his magic. He can feel the difference more clearly than you otherwise would. His weakened magic makes him sensitive to unnatural resonance. Uh, I'll keep shaping it, but I'm getting there slowly but surely. That should always be the driving thing to for each of the story beats. It's like what needs to happen and what information do they need, and then how do I get there? Okay. Okay, so this is a two-part thing, I guess. One that one is that this portal magic is kind of unnatural, and then two is that it was using some sort of device. Now the I wrote down the how it works, right? The mechanics. The mechanics are that there's a signature that every realm has like a frequency, like its own frequency that you can tap into, and you usually tap into it by intent. So intent actually works based off of the signature. So your intent, where you want to go, what you say, and how you hold the piece of quicksilver, uh, brings tunes into the frequency of whatever realm or whatever place you're going to, and then opens a portal to it. Okay, and then this device automatically opens a portal to whatever frequency that you want. You know, be like dial position, right? Mm, mm, mm. I could actually put a little bit of lore onto that too. Um, it's like there's like okay, so there's a science to portals, right? Portal magic science, which is basically a study of it. So basically, um, they know how that works. So every wizard kind of knows how it works. That basically, each location that you want to open a portal to has a resonant frequency. We'll say it has a resonant frequency, a resonant magical frequency. We'll say it like that. You know, magical BS device thing. And that when you're holding a piece of quicksilver, it amplifies the magic, and when you say the words and your intent is to go somewhere, uh, your brain. Well, I mean, I could get really into the weeds here. I don't really want to create some sort of false, you know, actual. I don't know how do you say it. I don't want to delve too far into new agey, weirdy, woo woo stuff. 'Cause it's just for my game. But we'll say that the brain kind of syncs up with the destination frequency, and that allows the quicksilver to amplify that, and allows a portal to open. Hey, Rook. Um, Now we're up to four viewers or listeners again, but I'm just explaining to the audience or to whoever's listening or whoever's watching how basically portal magic science, which kind of sounds like an oxymoron, but basically it's how portal magic works. And so I come up with this idea that so the way that you open the portal to Enchanted Lands, or into any realm, is you have to have a piece of Quicksilver, and then you have to have some words that you say, and then there's an intent. There's an intent to go somewhere, maybe somewhere that you've been, that you've seen or know about. So so your brain kind of syncs up with the resonant frequency of the realm or the destination. It doesn't have to be a realm; it could be a place inside a realm, because there'd be like sub frequencies or something, some sort of pseudo scientific thing that I'm coming up with. But basically, so each realm has its frequency, and locations in the realm have their own frequencies, and you sync up with that by intending to go somewhere specific. So you're holding on to this piece of quicksilver. You say these words which amplify your intention, and then it opens a portal to wherever you're going. Okay, that's supposedly the science. I don't want to get too far into that, like it's a real thing or something. But I wanted a like kind of logical backing, because basically Max is building. He's building a machine, a device that allows him to open portals anywhere he wants, and large enough to march armies through, to be able to conquer them. And so we're at this point where Hubert is in Wizard University, and Wizard University is actually all locked up and stuff. So he had to find a way of getting into it. So he's inside, and he hits the trophy room, and in the trophy room there's this case where there's this Quicksilver scepter, um, which is a trophy that they won in some sort of inter-realm Wizard collegiate games or something, and so the idea is that when he looks at the case, the scepter is gone, but there's no signs of tampering. And then later on, he's got to dig into the magic a little bit to find out why the magical wards weren't tripped, and then he's gonna come to find out that this person, whoever this was that slipped in, created a device that opens a portal. So you don't need the intention. You still need the Quicksilver, but that could be like built into the device kind of thing. But now all you need is basically is the frequency or the signature of the realm that you want to go to, which allows you to open up a portal anywhere without your own intent, without you saying magic words. It goes by device. So the idea here is that Max actually snuck in. He was the one that snuck in. He has this model. He's got this device, the portal opening mechanism. He's got a little, like a miniature model of the portal opening mechanism that he's going to use in the Omnigate. And he was basically doing this as a test run. So he basically stole the scepter by opening a portal inside the case, able to pull it out without tripping in the magical wards, because the portal magic actually goes around the magic. In other words, the magic wards aren't tripped because it's not anything actively being put on the case or on the scepter, or it's not magic directed at it. It's like kind of like going around it. I also have this logic. It's just something I created out of thin air, basically. It doesn't have any like real reasoning or anything. It's just it's something I made up as a logicality of the world, right, of the story. So the story is you can't affect the case, or maybe even the thing inside it, without tripping these magical wards, without somebody being able to tell that you broke into it. But obviously, this guy did. So um, so Hubert has got to find this out. He's got to find out, well, how did he get the scepter out? Why did he get the scepter out? Why did he steal it? He didn't need to steal it. It's just a trophy, basically. Although it does have Quicksilver in it, but the idea is that in and of itself is not really a reason to steal it, because there's plenty of Quicksilver in the lands and stuff. They got mines and whatever, and yeah, you could steal it, but you wouldn't necessarily need to go into Wizard University to steal the scepter to get a little bit of Quicksilver. In fact, he's eventually later you're gonna find out he's got mines. His mines are in the Gnome Kingdom, and of course you have the dwarf mines as well. But the idea is there's probably easier ways of getting Quicksilver if you wanted it, and getting raw Quicksilver and getting more of it and all that than you'd find in the scepter anyways. So basically, he comes in the trophy room. The case is empty, where there's supposed to be something there. But somehow he can detect that magic was used, and then the more he digs into it, the more he finds out that it wasn't normal portal magic. It was a device that was made that actually opens the portal. And so I'm trying to figure out how he figures out this information and what information he should have before I write this page up. I might not even get this page done today. I might have to wait till tomorrow. My mom is coming tomorrow for my birthday, my birthday is actually Saturday, and so I'll have a pretty much normal day tomorrow, but like I won't be, I'll be away from. I don't know why I even said that. Why did I even say that? I think there was a reason. Oh, I guess I was just thinking that tomorrow might be a little bit different day, the way things work, but I don't think so. I think I'll still be able to stream tomorrow. Anyways, so that's where we're at. So I'm just trying to figure this out. I'm trying to figure out what spells and things he'll use. If it ends up being like a puzzle, how does the puzzle work? That sort of thing. So Max is using a device to open portals instead of the person themselves. Maybe the point is that it doesn't use Quicksilver at all because you have to have a piece of Quicksilver to do that. But maybe he's found a way of not using a piece of Quicksilver by using this device. I think that's what I'll probably go with. And tweak that a little bit because it's kind of unnecessary. If you need a piece of Quicksilver anyways, what's the point of having a device where you don't have to say it, but where instead you have to tune in a frequency? That kind of doesn't make sense there. So, one little bit of nuance. I should probably put this little this portal magic logic and stuff into my notes too. All this stuff that I came up with so that I can reference it later. A little bit of nuance is that I was thinking that you still needed Quicksilver for the device, but that would sort of defeat the purpose of having a device. So instead the device would essentially use science instead of magic. That is the frequency for a signature idea. Frequency. Signature. 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 It's what will open portals instead of using magic. That being said, it's still of the magic. The idea being the intent, the words, and the Quicksilver actively amplifies the frequency until a portal can open. Amplifies until. Oh yeah, it was until a portal can open. So the device is using. So I guess essentially I'm boiling magic down to frequency. Radio frequency. Maybe it's a burst of radiation. A very clean way to unify the magic and science in your world. Basically, traditional portal magic intent frequency out portal opens device based on scans for existing realm frequencies, mechanically replicates or resonates with them. Portal opens no intent or Quicksilver required. So magic itself is manipulating frequencies, but wizards do it intuitively with the application, while device uses brute force technology to achieve the same effect. Gives you very useful narrative angles. Forensic flavor. Hubert can sense a resonant out of place. It feels like magic, but it isn't responding to intent, and that's how you can tell something is off. Like I said, I don't want to get too far in the weeds of the whole magic thing. Me being a Christian and all, and even though magic is just a sort of a fantasy storytelling device, um, you can actually get into, it's like getting into like crystals or something. The new agey people, and that's almost a form of witchcraft right there. The thing about like crystals having power and all this stuff, and you do, you got piezoelectric crystals like quartz and whatever, and so there is some sort of actual physical science involved with that. That doesn't mean anything about like magic and stuff, but like I said, I don't want my story to get too far into like some realistic magic, you know, thing. I just want it to be a thing to help facilitate my story. So, but I'm creating this kind of logical daily. So, yeah. So essentially, magic in my story is basically manipulating frequencies. And wizards can just do it, um, and to get what they want. Um, it's also kind of an interesting implication. It's like string theory, right? String theory has these vibrating strings that they claim does things like make atoms, and somehow it forms like solid objects and stuff like that. I'm not even saying I believe in string theory or anything like that, or anything, but it's sort of that sort of deal. You're dealing with magic. If you're dealing with stuff like witchcraft, like the real world, it's like all it's a power trip. It's a power thing. God actually said not to do stuff, not to dabble in witchcraft. In the Bible it says that. You know, in other words, it's not saying it's not real. It's saying it's satanic, or it's not. It's not of God. You're not supposed to rely on any of that kind of stuff. So that's why I don't want to get too deep. I'm not trying to create something that somebody can take and go, oh yeah, and like create a religion off of it or something stupid like that. I'm just trying to think of a thing to facilitate my story. So Max is making he's a evil sorcerer. He's a dark wizard or whatever you want to call him. But he's figured out this thing about magic, and he's figured out the science of it, and literally how it works and stuff. And so he's got this device, that will open portals anywhere he wants, as big as he wants, without using Quicksilver. But he's actually okay. So if I take the Quicksilver out of it completely, then I don't need him to have Quicksilver at all, even when making the machine. However, he's actually using them to mine Quicksilver to build into his machine. So I'm not really sure how to reconcile that. I have to think of that too. Manipulating frequencies, Hubert can foresee thematic consistency. Magic is an arbitrary, definable physics behind it. Frequency wizards are basically scale operators, and that's true law, while devices are an automated operator. Player reader payoff. Even without explaining full mechanics, you can describe it as magic smells wrong. It was precise, mechanical, not alive. The player gets the idea of the clever technological loophole in a magical system. Also sets you up nicely for later reveals like the Omnigate, because you can say someone figured out how to scale this frequency principle in a mass device, and it ties directly to what Hebrew observes. Now, I do have a problem with that. I'm charging my fireball. Exactly. I do have a problem with that, in that in the story, he enslaves citizens and tourists alike to work his Quicksilver mines in order to come up with the enormous amounts of Quicksilver needed to power the Omnigate. So if I'm saying a device does it itself, then I can do without the Quicksilver, and part of my story breaks down. Um, I suppose. Um, well, okay, so I have an idea of what I could say about that, but well, I'm gonna see what ChatGPT says first. Uh, you need Quicksilver in the story because it drives both the stakes, slavery, the labor resources, the narrative motivation for why Max is so desperate for it. If the device didn't need Quicksilver, then the tension evaporates. Here's a way to reconcile it without breaking your setup. Device still requires Quicksilver, but is used differently. Uses differently than wizards. Instead of intent, the device needs a raw Quicksilver as a power source. It doesn't require a wizard to focus intent, just like the elemental energy from the Quicksilver itself. This keeps your minds relevant. This is kind of what I was thinking of too. I was thinking, well, it's more like a power source. It's more like an amplifier, right? So maybe maybe he still needs a Quicksilver to amplify it. Maybe he doesn't need it itself or whatever. Keeps your minds relevant. Max still needs huge amounts of Quicksilver. Uh, but now it's more a battery than a magic amplifier. Keeps all existing story beats, preserves slavery, adds take flavor to the magic. You have to explain briefly whether the device can bypass intent but still consume Quicksilver. Lighted exposition. Like the device converts raw Quicksilver energy directly into portals of resonance is enough. Option 2, mini device testing. Uses a tiny device that can open portals with just signatures. This is the part Hubert investigates. Omnigate. The full scale does require enormous amounts of Quicksilver because the scaling of the signature manipulation to multiple massive portals simultaneously consumes prodigious magical energy. Yeah, and that's actually just what I was thinking of. I was mostly thinking of option 2. Anyway, so that's good. That's good. That means it came up with something that I was already thinking myself, and that makes it a good idea. Slightly more complicated and flexible. Um, Yeah, actually, before I hit enter, I was thinking more along the lines of option 2. Maybe in order to scale up, um, he needs amplification of the res resonant resonant frequencies, which he can do uh, with Quicksilver. So the little mechanism model um, doesn't need it, but he does if he wants to open large portals simultaneously. Goes really well. It keeps the story intact. The miniature model test device doesn't need Quicksilver, just scans and manipulates frequencies, perfect for Hubert to detect and puzzle over. For a test run of the Omnigate idea, the full-scale Omnigate requires massive amounts of Quicksilver to amplify the resonance so that multiple large portals can open at once. This is where mining, slavery, and stakes come in. This gives you a natural story beat. Hubert can see evidence of clever technological experimentation without immediately encountering the massive threat. It's foreshadowing that Omnigate's full potential. Gives a plausible reason why the device works differently from standard magic. Small portals or single target tests don't need amplification, but big ones do. If you want, we can outline it. I think this is okay, and in fact, I only have about 10 minutes left today. But I think I will go with this and probably put this in my notes for later. Anyways, so yeah. So it looks like I didn't actually get things done again. Unfortunately, it means it's super slow. Yeah, I don't know. And some people uh, don't care about the story stuff. This is boring to them. They like the coding. Of course, that's only really coders that really like the coding. Um, so non-coders probably wouldn't just, you know, you might like both the story and the coding portions if you're into coding, but So I guess that's still kind of okay. Anyways, so portal magic requires intention and uh, Quicksilver. Um, words with intention and Quicksilver. Um, which really aligns. Okay, let me say it this way. So portal magic uh, works because each realm and locations in a particular realm have a signature resonant frequency. So when you hold on to a piece of Quicksilver with the intention of going somewhere and uh, saying some words to, I guess, manifest your intention. Uh, and saying some words to manifest your intention. The Quicksilver aligns your frequency with that of the realm, that of the destination, and it opens a portal. Okay. Max had found a way to open a portal without intention or massive amounts of Quicksilver. He uses a little model of the mechanism in stealing the scepter from Wizard U. This, of course, is a test run to see the viability. Yeah, and it will have to have happened some time ago too, so it can't be just like hours or something. But then again, maybe just this kind of stuff just happened, but maybe it happened within months. So it's like he started seeing changes, and he started seeing the king acting weird, and this being sold, and then the school starting to close down, and now he's at the point where he needs to figure out what's going on. You know, he's when he brings John in, it's the kind of the point of where it's now become a problem. Before it was just weird stuff happening, but now it's actually become something that needs to be looked into. This is, of course, a test run to see the viability of the portal opening device. It still needs large amounts of Quicksilver to amplify the frequencies required to open multiple large portals simultaneously. Okay. Hubert will learn a bit about this when he investigates the stolen scepter from the Lizard U trophy case. Okay, I need to kind of save that because I need this for backing for whatever I'm going to be doing here in the future. Okay, so I want to thank all of you guys that have been listening or watching um, with this story stuff. I know some of it's kind of boring, but I have to go through some of this boring stuff before I can get to something interesting. In any case, we're going to try for tomorrow being the fact that it's Friday, being uh, the time where I actually finish the story beat. Because now that I know how it works and what information he needs, I have to come up with some spells that will get him this information. He knows that there's something wrong. There's some magic involved. The magic words weren't tripped, but he has to figure. He needs to do a spell or something that will show that to him somehow. I'm not really sure how to do that because partial magic will kind of ruin that too. But maybe he tries it a couple times. I don't know. I have to figure that out. But then he knows that it's something like magic, but it's not working like magic is supposed to work. And so he used a couple of spells that actually will recreate the crime so that he can view it. And of course, it'll mess up sometimes. So he'll need several, either to layer several spells or the same spell over and over again until he gets the missing footage they has to piece together. Or, um, yeah. So maybe we'll do it that ways. Anyways, thanks for watching this part. And when I come back in about an hour, I will be working on the layout tool. So some of you that just like coding that aren't interested in the story stuff can join me then. And I will see you then. Thank you for watching part 1.